Okay. The bacterial growth. How fast is the bacteria multiplies? Sample. In 0 minutes, we have a 1 bacterial cell. After 50 minutes, it will turn into 2 bacterial cells. And after 30 minutes, the 2 bacterial cells will multiply into 4 bacterial cells. So it means every 15 minutes, you have this times 2 multiplication of the bacteria. So after 45 minutes, the 4 bacterial cells will multiply into 8 bacterial cells. Okay, next, who is most at risk? It means who are the person that are, kumbaga, yung mga tao na madali lang mahawaan ng sakit. Yung mga tao na madali lang sila magkaroon ng foodborne illness. So they are the infants and children, the elderly, yung matatanda, pregnant women, and next is those with a weak immune system. Okay, so they are the 4 groups of persons that are most at risk for foodborne illness. Okay. Next is the 5 points in prevention of foodborne illness. So we have there the 5 keys to safer foods to prevent foodborne illness. Okay, we have here 1, practice good personal hygiene. Ibig sabihin, maging malinis. When we say good personal hygiene, it's all about yourself. You should know how to clean yourself. Before going to work, you should take a bath. Okay? Change your clothes. And then you should undergo toothbrushing, change your underwear, everything about personal hygiene. You should cut your nails, okay? And of course, you should take a bath every day before going to work. And of course, in maging malinis, it's not only about good personal hygiene. It includes also the cleanliness of our surroundings or the cleanliness of our establishments. Kasi it's useless if you, the food handler, is malinis, kumbaga, okay, maganda ka, gwapo ka, okay, mabango ka, or how about the establishments? How about the tables, the floors? Example, ang tables is puno ng langaw, okay? Gusto pa bang kumain sa ganyang establishments? Of course, you will not go in that kind of establishments. Okay, next. Separate raw and cook. So, ihiwalay daw ang hilaw sa luto na pagkain. What is the purpose? Not that we should separate raw from cooked food, of course, to avoid what we call the cross-contamination. So, what is cross-contamination? Is the transfer of germs from the raw food going to the cooked food. Or ang paglipat ng germs galing sa hilaw na pagkain papunta sa luto na pagkain. So, example, same plate, okay? So, yung plato, nilagay mo yung hilaw na karne. Then after that, nilagyan mo ng luto ng karne na hindi mo siya hinugasan. Kaya, cross-contamination will really occur. An example, also another example, yung cutting board, okay? You slice a raw meat, and after slicing a raw meat, you slice a cooked meat, and of course, what you would expect, of course, cross-contamination will take place. Okay, next, number 3. Okay, the cook thoroughly. Lutuin mabuti ang pagkain. So, always cook your food at 70 degrees Celsius. Yan yung temperature na sigurado yung pagkain natin is luto. And another one is keep food at safe temperature. So, panatili na pagkain sa ligtas na temperatura, ibig sabihin, we should avoid what we call the danger zone. Okay? So, the temperature, of course, is from 5 to 60 degrees centigrade or what we call the danger zone. And the last key, number 5, is use safe water and raw materials. Okay? Safe. When we say safe water, of course, it's not only clean, but it is safe. When we say safe water, it is free from any bacteria. Okay? And the raw materials, of course, it should be clean and safe. So, example, the vegetables and fruits, we should wash it thoroughly before cooking or eating them. So, always remember these 5 points are the 5 keys to safer foods. Number 1, be clean or keep clean. Number 2, separate raw from cooked food. And 3, cook thoroughly. 4, keep food at safe temperature. And 5, use safe water and raw materials. Okay. So I have also discussed this good personal hygiene. It's all about you. No? It's a very sensitive actually. I think it's all about cleanliness of yourself. You should know how to clean your own self. Okay? When we are young, we are taught by our teacher during our elementary days that we should brush our teeth, cut our nails, take a bath daily, change your underwears, change your socks. So, it's all about personal hygiene. So, sakit ay maiiwasan kung panatilihing malinis ang ating kapaligiran. So, ugaliing maghugas ng kamay lagi. Always remember that the golden rule in food safety is hand washing. Always wash your hands. But of course, washing your hands alone using with, washing your hands using with water only is not, it's not safe. It's not a proper hand washing. Proper hand washing should use soap and water to make your hands safe and clean. Always remember that. Water alone cannot get the germs out of your hands. Always use soap and water. And always remember the golden rule of food safety: wash hands regularly. Okay. And next is I will show you the steps in proper hand washing. Okay, this one. Take a look at this picture. We have the proper hand washing procedure. Number 1, should wet hands and wrist. Next, apply soap. Of course, the water should be running water. If you don't have that faucet, you should use your dipper. And then number 2, steps, of course, right palm over left, and next, left over right. And then, palm to palm, fingers interlace. And 4, back fingers to opposing fingers interlock. And 5, rotational rubbing of right palm, clasp left palm, and vice versa. And the last is rotational rubbing backwards and forwards with tap of fingers and of slide. Okay. Bakit nawala yung picture natin? Okay, just remember, if you want to know the proper hand washing, you just, search it. You can find it, in Google. You can Google it, the proper hand washing procedure. And after this, you should try your hands using what? Do not use cloth. Instead, use drying the paper. Okay? Examples, the tissues. You should use that one. You should not use the clothes in drying your hands. Or you can use that hand dryer if you are in an establishment with a hand dryer. Okay, so make it a habit to wash your hands with soap and water. Always remember, wash your hands with soap and water. And take note, hand sanitizer cannot kill all germs. The best way to kill germs is through hand washing. That is what we are endorsing. Like the COVID-19, sanitizer alone cannot kill it, but washing using soap and water and take note, proper hand washing can kill germs. Okay, so next we'll have another presentation regarding the process on food preparation. Mabilis ba ako, ma'am? Kasi parang mabilis ako masyado. Okay, so next, this hazard analysis critical control point, okay, or the HACCP. Okay, so what is this HACCP? So the hazard analysis critical control point, it is a management system in which food safety is addressed through the analysis and control of biological, chemical, and physical hazards, from raw material production, procurement, handling, to manufacturing, distribution, and consumption of the finished products. So why HACCP is important? Okay? It is important because it controls potential hazards in food production. Okay? And it also a tool to help identify and control food safety hazards that may occur within the food business industry. So, and the most basic concept underlying HACCP is that of prevention. So, prevention of what? Prevention of the foodborne illness. Just remember, it is a system to monitor food service processes from the time of purchasing down to serving. Okay? And it identifies the critical control points, the points or the steps in which the process where hazards may be introduced. What are these hazards? As I have said earlier, hazards are the physical, chemical, and biological hazards. And of course, the main purpose of this HACCP is to reduce risk of foodborne illness. So it is the same with the food safety. Why food safety is important? Because if we know what is food safety, we can avoid foodborne illness. That is the main purpose of this. Okay, so as we have said, from purchasing, receiving, storing, preparing, cooking, serving, holding, cooling, and reheating. So these are the processes in food preparation, diba? From purchase, from the time you purchase until the time that you will serve your food. So in purchasing, what you should do, what you should always remember when you purchase, of course, one, you should evaluate the suppliers. If the suppliers of the compliance with the Federal or the state health standards, will check inspection records. And then, if the suppliers of the trained employees of this temperature control delivery, safe and sanitary packaging, and then create specification for acceptance and reject substandard items. And of course, schedule delivery during slow times, not during rush hours. Okay, next, approve food sources. Okay, so the food sources should be licensed, The food distributor should be licensed, or the establishment should be licensed, and in compliance with the health code. And then, if meat, it should be inspected, same with the poultry, and verify supplier as a safe source, and example, the fish should be safe, it should be calm, it should be from the unpolluted waters, and the milk should be pasteurized, and of course, you should always inspect the supplier's facilities if it is compliance with the sanitation code. Okay, next, receiving. Okay, in receiving, you should verify, of course, the safe or fresh foods. We should inspect upon delivery. What we should inspect, of course, its appearance, the odor, the contamination or the expiration dates, condition of the containers. Okay? If the fresh food is thawed or refrozen, we should reject items that if it is in a large ice crystals. And then we should also reject swollen, rusted or damaged cans or bulging cans. And of course, we should always check the temperature of the refrigerated foods. Okay. In the receipt and the storage. Okay. So, what we should check upon receipt and storage, of course, we should check the signs of the spoilage, okay, the color, odor, texture, slime, the presence of the slime, the molds, dirt, insects, if it is swollen, pearls, rusted, or wet containers. And of course, the quality, the temperature, and the general conditions. And arrange delivery for off-peak hours and plan ahead to ensure sufficient storage space. This one, we should avoid this kind of products. Okay, so it should not be bulging. Okay, so it is bulging, so it's not. It should be rejected. Then, if there is a presence of rust, it should also be rejected. If it is dented, it should be rejected. Okay. Then, transfer to proper storage promptly. Okay, so the storage should be spacious, then clean transport cards, and we should put a date on the foods on arrival or when to use it. And of course, the pest control, we should always consider the pest management in our establishment. So we should always consider that the storage area is clean and well lit areas. If it is a dry storage, of course, it should be, remember, okay, the item should be 6 inches off the floor. It should not be put or placed on the floor, but rather it should be 6 inches off the floor. And then good ventilation, 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Then first, we should apply this first in, first out rotation. Okay? So dating packages, we should put a date, then place new to rear. And clean spills promptly, trash keep out of room, and segregate cleaning supplies to avoid contamination. So if it is a storage of food, it should only be a storage of food. There is no other items present in that storage area. We should not put there a trash can, okay, or cleaning supplies to avoid contamination. Take a look at this. Okay, no, there's a lot of cleaning, okay, solutions, agents present in the room. Okay, then purchase foods that will be used as up, then place it properly, maintain storage area, then use food quickly, keep potentially hazardous food outside of danger zone. I have told you the danger zone is 40 degrees Fahrenheit to 140 Fahrenheit, or from 5 to 60 degrees Celsius.
That is the temperature of the danger zone. So below 40 and below and 140 up is considered as safe zone. Then keep cleaning materials away from food. This one. Now take a look at this picture. What is wrong with this? Of course, this food is placed on the floor. It should be 6 inches off the floor. This one. Full of, what's this? Flours mixed up with the other materials. Okay. Then if refrigerated storage, so the temperature should be less than 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you should not overload it. Allow for air transfer. Then place a date on items. Then properly seal. And remember, the raw or the uncooked should be on the bottom. Okay? Away from the ready-to-eat foods. This one. Okay. Everywhere the meat is placed, so it is not properly stored. Okay. In freezing, okay. So the freezing temperature, of course, is 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and store foods immediately. Then for foods that are frozen, slatted shelves. Use moisture-proof containers or wrappings, and avoid multiple entries. Segregate large warm containers into smaller ones. Okay, next, preparing. During thawing and marinating, so keep foods out of temperature danger zone. As I have said, danger zone temperature is 40 degrees Fahrenheit up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And never thaw on counter or non-refrigerated area. Okay? Use refrigerator in thawing in pan on bottom shelf. And or in under running water, 70 degrees Fahrenheit for less than 2 hours. Okay, remember, 2 hours, less than 2 hours under running water. Okay, then marinate meats and fish in refrigerator. Avoid cross-contamination or never reuse the marinade. Example, you have marinated meats, and after you cook that meats, you marinate the fish using the same marinade. So it's not advisable. You should never reuse your marinade. Okay? And next, sanitize cutting boards or knives between use to avoid cross-contamination. So what is advisable? Your cutting boards for fish should be different from the cutting board used for meats. Okay. Example, you have the cutting board for meats, cutting board for fish, cutting boards for vegetables, cutting boards for cooked foods. It's much better to avoid the cross-contamination. But if you have only one cutting board, one knife, of course you should wash or sanitize it between use or after using it. Okay. Then handle raw or high-risk foods in separate area at separate time. And sanitize surfaces, equipment immediately after contact with potentially hazardous food. And hand washing prior to handling food. Remember when to wash your hands, of course, before handling food, okay? After using the CR, after touching trash, okay? Then remember that proper hand washing. You should always use the water and soap. before you handle food, before you prepare food, you should wash your hands. Okay? And ill or infected workers are not allowed to handle food, to prepare, cross-contamination, and of course, foodborne illness. Okay? Look at this picture. What will happen to this one? Of course, cross-contamination is very possible. Okay? Next, potentially hazardous foods. Okay, we have already cited an example of the potentially hazardous foods. Of course, they are the meats or the beef, the poultry, the pork, the gravies, and the soups. Then shellfish, raw fish, okay, dairy products, the milk, eggs, cream-filled pastries and custards, and of course the vegetables, cooked, okay, raw sprouts, cabbage, and the starchy foods like rice, potatoes, and grains. So they are the potentially hazardous foods. Okay, so cooking. Okay, so what I am discussing is about the processing know-how to, from the purchasing down to cooking to sewing. Also, these are the points that we should always remember in cooking. So, cook foods to proper internal temperature. Of course, we should use always what we call the thermometer to know the internal temperature, particularly the meat. How can we know the temperature if we will not use a thermometer? Okay, next, stir foods in deep pots frequently. Example, you have a deep pot, stir the foods frequently, and regulate the size or the thickness of foods or the uniformity of the sizes. And validate the cooking times, the temperature. Of course, check what temperature, okay, how many hours or how many minutes to cook the food, and always check the thickest part of the food.
Yeah.
Then, always use sanitary cooking and serving utensils. Okay, how can we know that we are using sanitary cooking or serving utensils? Of course, we have sanitized that utensils. Okay, when we say sanitized, we just not only clean it using soap, but we have this what we call the bactericidal or germicidal agent that we use to sanitize that utensils. And of course, never touch the prepared foods with bare hands. Okay? Bare hands. Ibig sabihin, wala kayong gloves na gamit. And of course, you did not properly hand wash your hands. If you touch a prepared food, you can contaminate the food. Okay, next. In serving and holding. Okay? In serving and holding. So, you should keep hot food above 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, how can we keep the food hot? Of course, we should use these steam tables. If you're going to restaurants, you can see that steam tables, they have this, they maintain the food hot. Okay? Then, they keep the food covered and stir foods to ensure even heating. Baga, uniform yung, yung heat niya. And of course, next, if cold food, you should keep cold food below 40 degrees Fahrenheit and check temperature periodically, and you should sanitize the thermometer after each use. Okay. And discard food ill in danger zone for 4 hours. What is the danger zone temperature? From 4 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, or from 5 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius. That is what we call the danger zone. So example of the danger zone is the room temperature. Kasi in between siya na
40.
Okay, 40 at saka 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And remember, 4 hours, 4 hours. Kasi if we should, example, we have cooked that meat. Example, we have cooked spaghetti, pasta. After 2 hours of cooling down, we should place it inside the refrigerator. But if it will, kumbaga, if it will be more than 2 hours, and then nakaabot siya ng 4 hours, okay, we should discard that food. Kasi contaminated na yun. And next, never add fresh food to food already out for serving. Okay, remember that one. If we have that fresh food, we should not add it, no, to the food that is already in plate, ready for serving. Okay. Then, this one, wash hands. Okay, before serving food. This is the golden rule always of the food safety. Always wash your hands. And then, clean or sanitary long-handled ladles and spoons for serving. Of course, sanitize. And never touch parts of cups or plates that will have contact with food. Example, the face of the plates. Never touch it or never put or place your hands on the face of the plates. On the rim of the cups. Okay? Where you will take a sip, don't touch it with your hands. Next, if you have cats, as we have said, always cover